We're very, very pleased to have here tonight Mr. Joel Gilbert.
America, we have a problem. America has been under siege from a vast left-wing conspiracy. Obama's election was not a sudden political phenomenon. It was the result of an American socialist movement that Obama's real father, Frank Marshall Davis, nurtured in Hawaii and Chicago, and has been quietly infiltrating the U.S. economy, universities, and media for decades. Why did Dorothy follow the yellow brick road? And is utopia a real destination for America? Or is the true path to happiness still faith, family, and hard work? Back in Kansas. I have a new film coming out this summer. It's called There's No Place Like Utopia. The title is a play on the conclusion of Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, There's No Place Like Home. Dorothy blindly follows the yellow brick road, believing that a magical wizard will fulfill all her dreams. In the end, of course, she discovers the wizard was a charlatan. He was a carnival hawker. He had only worked in a circus. His promises were empty. And worse, the Wizard of Oz sends Dorothy to the witch's castle, where she's taken prisoner and held in a dungeon. In the film, I travel to different parts of the country. I go to Detroit, Chicago, Newark, Washington, D.C., Denver, Miami. And where I went, I met people who were seduced by utopian promises. But they had all come to realize that they had been had. And many people I met no longer had a home left to go back to. They were stuck in Oz. Now, in the film, I depict Obama as the wizard because I think the analogy is well-deserved. The fundamental lesson of the Wizard of Oz is there is no wizard. Obama made promise after promise that all turned out to be empty, all turned out to be lies. And the people I met who supported him were literally living in dungeons in the witch's castle. Everything had changed for the worse. Detroit, Southside Chicago, Newark. 50 years of progressive control over these cities demonstrated that no one was progressing. They were all regressing. The analogy is obvious. In history, millions of people followed charlatans like Mao, Stalin, Ho Chi Minh, Pol Pot, Castro. They all promised to create a utopia, a paradise on earth. But instead, the people who followed them arrived to hell on earth. They were sent to the Gulag, they were starved and mass murdered by utopians. The word utopia is from the Greek. It means no place. Utopia is an imaginary, perfect society, heaven on earth, where everyone is happy. In utopia, man has been perfected. All human beings are equal, and they think and act the same. The idea of a perfect society was first mentioned by Plato in his work, The Republic, back in 380 BC. And then the word utopia was later coined by Sir Thomas More, in which he depicted a fictional island, paradise, in the Atlantic Ocean. In 1848, Karl Marx wrote in the Communist Manifesto that it is historically inevitable for societies to pass through 4 stages: feudalism, capitalism, socialism, and then finally communism. In communist society, Marx described a worker's paradise where perfect happiness and universal fulfillment would be achieved through the abundance of goods and services that only a government-controlled society could produce. Utopia. In the modern era, socialists adopted the fictional idea of utopia and Marx's worker's paradise as a realistic blueprint for the nation-state. Ruling over paradise, the leader of communist society was considered to be God on earth. However, we know from history that the Marxist model was a disaster. Every country that adopted the utopian ideology suffered economic devastation and biological destruction, as 100 million human beings were killed in peacetime through starvation, gulags, political repression, and murder in an attempt to mold human beings to fit them into utopia. In the beginning, communists, progressives use phraseology like, we are going to organize the working man to fight and make a revolution and overthrow the government. Obama's pals like Bill Ayers used this kind of rhetoric, and they acted on it. They planted bombs at the Pentagon, they murdered policemen, believing that the working classes would spontaneously join their communist revolution to destroy America. But it didn't work. It turned people off because it was evil. No normal person would want to bring down America and replace the Constitution we were bequeathed by our founding fathers with the Communist Manifesto. So into the 1970s and by the early 80s, progressives realized they could not overthrow the government from the outside. They decided that if they changed their rhetoric, they could trick the average American into supporting them, take power, and then use the power to bring down America from within. And since the 1980s, the progressives, which they now call themselves, rather than communists, have slowly and successfully taken over the Democratic Party. Today, their public terminology has become even more benevolent. They say, we want to help middle-class families. We want fairness. We are problem-solving. We want to help poor people, or just change, fill in the blanks. But make no mistake, the Democrat Party today is a radical socialist party. For example, their leader is considered perfect and godlike. He cannot be criticized. There is no opposition within the Democratic Party. Any opposition from outside the Democrat Party is considered to be evil. This is because socialism is a religion. It's faith. If you don't believe in their human God and their fantasy of utopia, paradise on earth, you are the enemy. And who is God's enemy? The devil. So of course, you are the devil and you are evil because you oppose the one true God, the God on earth. The Democrats tell this story every day. Good versus evil. They're telling and selling the story. Not our idea is better than yours because of these reasons. Good versus evil. We're good, they're evil. I'll give you some examples. They claim we represent all that is good and all that helps people toward progress, while Republicans want to stop progress. We want to help people with their health care, and Republicans want people to die. We want to help women get mammograms. Planned Parenthood, they want to prevent women from health care. We want rich Americans to pay their fair share, and the Republicans are just greedy. Good and evil. We want to help poor people to get food stamps so they can eat. Republicans don't mind if they starve. We want to help black people and minorities have access to vote, and Republicans want to stop them from voting. On and on. Now, if you were a progressive who believes this nonsense, it's not difficult to feel justified in lying to the public, suppressing the votes of conservatives, using the IRS, lying about your agenda, lying about your background, lying about a dead U.S. ambassador, lying about health care, committing voter fraud. You would do anything. You would commit any crime if you believed that you were taking humanity step by step toward the perfect future, utopia. And the Republicans were preventing it. The fantasy of utopia is why progressives murdered 100 million people. 100 million people were murdered by utopians in power. And that's why the ideology of progressivism is so dangerous. Let me give you one more example of the voter ID and voter fraud. Democrats have been hammering the idea that it is voter suppression if you advocate a voter identification requirement, or if you even ask the question, why did 140% of the population vote in 10 counties in 2012? Here's what I would like people to start talking about. Barack Obama started his political career by exposing voter fraud. You may not know this, that's right. Obama owes his career to efforts to stop voter fraud in Chicago. In 1995, when he ran for state senate against Alice Palmer, he challenged her petition signatures. Why would he suspect that they might not be real? Obama had worked for Project Vote in 1992 in Chicago. 2/3 of the signatures were found to be not valid, and Alice Palmer was disqualified. So let's join Barack Obama's initiative and investigate voter registration fraud. We owe it to him to continue his good work. One other example I want to make is this daily lie of the upper income people don't pay their fair share of taxes. The audacity of the lie grows and grows, even though they know anybody could just Google it. And you could see that, yes, the top income pays the top percentage, the middle pays the middle, the lower pays none. All this disinformation. It's Soviet-era propaganda. And they're trying to use Soviet censorship to keep anyone from speaking out against all these issues that they want to control the narrative. I hope everyone will go see There's No Place Like Utopia in the theater this summer. Thank you very much.